You know, a lullaby is supposed to be comforting, right? Something that helps you sleep. But what happens when that same melody becomes the soundtrack to your absolute worst nightmare? Today, we're diving into a chilling true story from a subscriber named Sahil about a trip with his friends that went horribly, horribly wrong.
That's the line that kicks off Sahil's story. And honestly, it just sets this incredibly dreadful tone for everything to come. A song that's meant for comfort twisted into a memory of pure terror. So how did a simple vacation turn into this? Well, it all started with a trip that was meant to heal a friend.
All right, so let me introduce you to the people in our story. We've got Sahil, who's telling us what happened, and his friends Chirag, Arun, and Samai. And this wasn't just some random holiday. They were on a mission. They were trying to help their friend Samai, who had just recently and tragically lost his younger brother in an accident. And look, their intentions were so good. They just wanted to bring back the Samai they knew and loved. You know, the guy who was always the life of the party. They were hoping that the beautiful mountains of Manali would give him some peace, a real break from all his grief. But those mountains, they had something else planned for them entirely.
So, the first couple of days, everything's going great. But on day 3, the friends decide they're going to drive up to the famous Rotang Pass. And as they're getting ready to leave, their hotel receptionist gives them a piece of advice that, looking back, sounds a lot more like a warning.
Naturally, they're like, why? And he tells them that all the locals make sure to shut their doors by 6 p.m. sharp. He starts telling them this old legend, a story about the past that most tourists never get to hear, and it's a story that's tied directly to the place's name.
And this is where things get really dark. The receptionist explains that the name Rotang literally translates to Valley of Death, or even more grimly, a pile of corpses. The legend says there's a deceptive, shape-shifting spirit that haunts the pass after dark, and anyone who stays out too late, they're found dead in the valley the next day.
And you could probably guess what happened next, right? A bunch of young guys from the city hear a local ghost story, and they just laugh it off. To them, it's just a silly superstition, you know, a spooky tale to tell the tourists. They weren't concerned at all. They just drove off towards the pass, totally ready for an adventure, and completely unaware they were driving straight into that very legend.
So, after spending a few hours up at the pass, they start heading back. But by now, it's late, like well past 9 p.m. It's pitch black, and this thick, soupy fog starts rolling in, making it almost impossible to even see the road in front of them. And this is where their reality just starts to completely unravel.
So they're creeping along through this dense fog, and then they spot a milestone on the side of the road. It reads, Manali 28 km. Okay, a normal sign, right? Reassuring even. They're on the right path. But Sahil notices something odd. Think about it. It's freezing up there in the mountains at night, and this guy's just sitting on a rock and basically nothing but a thin cloth. It was weird. It was unsettling. But Sahil didn't say anything. They just kept driving, deeper and deeper into the fog.
All right, so they keep driving. Another 20 minutes or so crawl by as they're carefully making their way down this winding road. They feel like they have to be getting closer to the hotel, closer to safety. But then they saw it again. The exact same milestone. Manali 28 km. It was like they hadn't moved an inch. They were stuck in some kind of loop. Chirag is the first one to freak out, saying he saw that same stone 20 minutes ago. And this is the moment the true horror of what's happening really starts to sink in.
But here's the absolute kicker. While they all saw the milestone, the figure they saw next to it was different for each of them. Their shared nightmare wasn't actually shared at all. It was like the past was giving each of them their own personalized horror show.
I mean, their whole reality is just falling apart at this point. Sahil saw the old man. Chirag saw a little girl holding a toy. Arun, who was driving, saw a black horse just standing there, staring at them. And Samai, he just kept saying over and over that someone needed their help. The fear in that car was so thick you could feel it.
Okay, so things are bad, right? Well, they're about to get so much worse. Because whatever this thing is, it's not just watching anymore. After they passed that 28-kilometer stone for a third time, the entity, it became active. It was now with them.
Arun, who's driving, is yelling, don't look out the window. But how could they not? A boy, maybe 15 years old, with his dirty, wounded face, was running right alongside their car. And not just running, he was effortlessly keeping up as they sped up to 40 kilometers per hour. And that's when Samai does something that makes no sense at all. He says the boy needs help, and he rolls down his window.
Somehow, they finally break out of the loop and get back to the hotel. They're shaken, obviously, but they think they're safe. Or so they thought, because in the middle of the night, around 3:30 a.m., Sahil gets woken up by this soft singing. It's Samai. He's staring at himself in the mirror, singing the lullaby his mother used to sing to his brother, who passed away.
Sahil quickly wakes up the other guys, and they just watch in absolute horror, because what they see in the mirror, that isn't Samay. The reflection's eyes were bloodshot red. There were these dark bruises all over its neck, like someone had strangled him, and it was wearing this tiny, sinister little smile as it sang that sweet lullaby.
As they start backing away, the singing just stops. Samai's reflection turns to look at them. And then, in this weirdly innocent little kid voice, it asks them that terrifying question. Right after that, Samai just collapses, completely unconscious. They knew then and there that something had followed them back from the pass.
Okay, so the next morning, they are absolutely terrified. They have no idea what to do, but then they remember what the hotel receptionist told them. And now, believing every word of those local legends, they take the unconscious Samai to a local pundit, a Hindu priest, just desperate for any kind of help.
The pundit takes one look at Samai and knows exactly what's going on. He tells them that an evil spirit had been preying on Samai's brief. It had pretended to be his late brother to get in. He started performing prayers and a ritual to ward off the evil eye. And the whole thing reached this horrifying climax when Samai started to vomit this thick, black liquid, literally expelling the entity from his body.
And the way this story wraps up is, well, it's complicated. The good news is, Samai made a complete recovery. He has zero memory of anything that happened that night. He's totally back to his old self. But Sahil, the one who told us this story, he's been changed forever. That lullaby, that once sweet song, now haunts his dreams every single night.
And that just leaves us with this final, chilling thought. The name Rotang means Valley of Death for a reason. So what really happened up there? Was it just a mass hallucination brought on by thick fog and a healthy dose of fear? Or can a place that's so steeped in tragedy and legend actually manifest its own darkness and prey on those who are lost, not just on the road, but in their own grief?